Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. I am JayBee and today we're going to be doing another breakdown of HBO Max and Mindy Kaling's Velma series, this time focusing in on episode 2, which is called The Candy Woman, which is a very interesting title that we'll no doubt get into a little bit later on in the video. Now first and foremost, huge shout out, these kind of images are once again courtesy of Scooby_News via Velma Brazil on Twitter. So as always, I'm going to be leaving those two links in the description down below. They deserve the credit for uncovering these images, so I want to make sure that I do due diligence by them for shouting them out. Also, I should have really stated this before the last episode, but this is a spoiler warning. Now, unlike a lot of the other Scooby things, we have no insight to this, no behind the scenes knowledge, we haven't spoken to anyone that worked on the series, and so everything that we do speculate on today is just what we think, our theories. But in the off chance that one of the things that we have ended up saying does become true, if you want to avoid any type of spoilers possible, then please do avoid this video and maybe come back after you've watched the episode to see what we got right, what we got wrong. So the first image, now we're going to go through the version that Scooby News posted, the picture order, and maybe speculate on if there's a timeline, if there's a coherent version of, yes, this is the first image, like as in this picture right here will be the earliest point in the episode, and the last picture we cover will be the latest point in the episode. But we're not going to dwell on that too much. But here we have something that I actually really, really like. It's Velma doing algebra, it appears. Now, I like it from a section where, when I think about my favourite versions of Velma, surprisingly, I actually turn to Be Cool Scooby-Doo. I'm not a great fan of Kate Micucci's performance after Be Cool Scooby-Doo, but in that episode 1 with Elias Kingston, the way she goes into an almost Sherlock-style mind palace to calculate, the things in the library and all the metric systems is actually ideal Velma. It's the type of thing that I really want to see. Now, I could be disappointed her. She could be looking at a school whiteboard or a school blackboard, and you know how sometimes the camera perspective goes behind the whiteboard, if that makes sense, and so what we could be seeing is just what's written on the board, but from her perspective. But based on the way things are overlapping and how it seems a bit scattered, I do think that this is going to be some type of Velma Mind Palace, and I absolutely love the idea. I hope that it's not something that just shows up in one episode and then goes away. I like the idea of a Velma Mind Palace a lot. I'm definitely there for it, but that's all that we can really deduce about this scene in particular. I'm not good at maths at all, so I don't know if the equations here are accurate. I don't know if it's likely that she's just doing school homework or if these types of equations can help her with the mystery. I guess the context around the episode will be the main driving force into it, but yeah, that's what I think's happening here. A really cool Velma Mind Palace, and if I am right about that, then that makes me even more excited for the series. This is where things get a bit interesting. What we see is Velma stood looking at what I think is her parents. Now, we get a bit dicey because I'm gonna like things about this image and I'm gonna dislike things about this image. What it looks like is we're setting up a storyline where Velma's dad is an alcoholic, and that's kind of weighing down on her mum, on her possibly, and certainly on him. And I don't know how to feel about that. I like the imagery as far as you get the glimpse that the family perhaps used to be a lot happier than they are now. If you look to the bottom left of the image, we see a laugh pillow, and we see to the top right a hope sign. So we get the sense that perhaps they've fallen under hard times. Maybe the villain of the series contributed to their downfall, be it in business, maybe personal, and that could be Velma's driving force to solve this mystery here, to almost get back what she lost before a certain event. That would be really interesting and definitely remind me a lot of the Daphne and Velma book series, which I actually really love. So I like it from that aspect. It shows a bit of nuance, but I'm a bit worried, shall we say, about it being too predictable, too tropey, like the alcoholic father. He's a problem. He used to be a good man, and now we're going to get dialogue from Velma about how times used to be better, but now they're not, and maybe she bonds with another character. There's nothing wrong with that trope if it's done right, but the whole point of this series, the reason why it's trying to justify itself, is that, oh, it's not Scooby, it's different, it's going to be its own unique thing. But then, okay, be your own unique thing. Don't, don't just break away from Scooby to be another tropey murder mystery. That doesn't make sense. I mean, obviously we don't know that that's what's happening here. But my point is that if that is what's happening, we need some nuance to it. We need something more than just this guy is having problems, but instead of being a character, he's a plot device. He is a motivation for Velma. He is an obstacle for the family. He's just some other plate that Velma needs to spin that distracts her from the mystery. I don't think that is the way to go. I think we need to humanise Velma's dad if this is the case, and we need some proper catharsis within the narrative of the series. Because, again, we've seen this so many times that I think it could get tired very quickly. But regardless, the fact that we're even getting a glimpse into Mystery Inc.'s parents at all is very interesting, and I do think something that a lot of other Scooby series have shied away from, at least to any great degree. The best example of them showing the parents is perhaps Mystery Incorporated, which did a really good job. So if we're getting a bit more of that, then I'm excited for it. But yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say about this. This image doesn't sit well with me. I'm just going to be brutally honest about that. I don't know how to articulate my thoughts with this. I did think about something, so I'm going to try and get my thoughts from my brain out my mouth as coherently as possible. So, I think that this is almost too childish, I want to say. Now, if you're running a children's program or a show for kids, when there's someone that comes on the scene that is meant to be untrustworthy, that's meant to be a villain, by all means, give them that kind of greasy hair look, give them an evil smile, put a cigarette in their mouth, and, cover them with blood or whatever, right? If you're trying to make the children go, look, stranger danger, this guy's a red flag, this guy's a problem, that's what you do. And if this guy, and I'm talking more specifically about the doctor, the quack doctor that appears to be behind Norval to the right-hand side there, then I almost think that it's talking down to its adult audience. This is an adult show after all, and so I don't think we need the guy to look so creepy and so seedy to hammer home the point that he is untrustworthy. Us as adults who will be watching this have met bad people that look perfectly presentable, have met bad people that do look like this. But the point is like, it almost seems like the juvenile way to go to articulate that someone is untrustworthy. But hey, I mean, if they make him a good guy, if they make him somehow be an ally, then I won't hate that, because that subverted my expectations. But if he is just a seedy guy, then I just don't understand why an adult show for adults needs to have the mustache twirling villain, for lack of a better phrase. He does seem to be doing some very unpleasant things. I think it must be harvesting organs, which, if Shaggy, or I guess he's called Norval in this version, if Norval is a part of that, I'm not really on board. Like, we don't see any comparison between these two characters. One looks like he's doing something horrific, while the other looks quite happy. And I don't know, I kind of feel like no matter what happens in an adult series about Mystery Inc., for us it's fine unless the gang go to a point where they can't be redeemed. Like, if this is anything to do with harming innocent people, how can we root for Norval? How can we be on Norval's side? I don't think we can be, but this is just one snapshot. This episode seems to be all over the place. I can't piece together what exactly is going on here, or what he's carrying. At first I thought it was a little bit of scaffolding, like perhaps he's doing some building work, but then it doesn't really look of that consistency, and would he be holding it so easily? It could be a present. I mean, if this is some seedy goings on, could Norval be delivering something? I mean, the best way that they could go about this is if Norval is perhaps a Subway delivery person or a food delivery person, and there's some like shaggy sandwich in that parcel, and he goes to like the wrong house maybe and stumbles upon something that he shouldn't be. But, there's not really much indication of that, so we're going to leave that as it is. This is my favourite image from this batch, I think. Now, I don't like Velma's expression. I don't like that art style. It seems a bit too awkward. I'm not a fan of it from that perspective, but I'm a fan of what it appears to be presenting in terms of the lore of the Velma series and the world that it exists in. And that's simply that we assume that she's being electric shocked by something. It looks like she's at school. If you look at the backgrounds, those are school lockers, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think this is anything lethal. Perhaps maybe someone has put... I can't think of those things. You know where you shake someone's hand and it does a little like vibration? Maybe like one of those prank electric things? Not really sure, but I do think this will ultimately end up being a prank that someone's played on her. But the fact that what should cause harm looks like it's resulting in cartoonish goofiness, I think that's the way to go, because if we're going to get no visual gags, no spectacle in terms of, what we expect from cartoons at this point, then I think it would be wasting the medium of animation. And if that is the case, then Velma the show should have been live action. And we're going to get to that discussion when it comes out, if we ever get a chance to watch it, on if it would have been better as a live action or not. Before this image, I was leaning kind of yes, but if we're gonna get things in this vein that really couldn't be done in animation without it looking tacky, ridiculous, taking the stakes away from the show, then I'm all for it. So, for all I'm not a fan of this weird look for Velma, it's definitely a good sign in terms of what the show's gonna be. It's kind of funny, but if you look at the cloak, or like the shape of the hood that she's wearing, and look at the colour of the electricity, it almost looks like she's the Phantom Virus from the Cyber Chase scene where the Phantom Virus dresses up as a grandma. I don't know, just something weird that we picked up on. Here's an interesting photo, perhaps the most interesting photo from the batches that we've got, both in this and the previous episode, because there's a little bit more that we can dig into here. So, let's break this down. We have Fred at the head of the table. Presumably to the right hand side, there's Fred's dad, who I think is going to be played by Frank Welker, so that's going to be a lot of fun, if nothing else. And to the left of him, we have Fred's mum, and two cute little dogs there. And of course, to the left, from Fred, we see that this is actually either Velma's dad or whoever Velma was looking at, who was like asleep on the sofa, because it's got the same hairstyle, the same look. This is Velma's dad, I think, to the left-hand side. Now, Fred doesn't look too happy, so I don't know what's going on. At first, I was guessing maybe this is like a meeting because Fred bullied Velma, and maybe one of the teachers called Fred's parents, and this is like a internal going on. I don't know. And then on the other hand, I'm thinking about the Daphne and Velma books, and I'm going, okay, is Fred doing business that interrupts with Mr. and Mrs. Jones's land, or is there some conflict there from a business perspective that brings the kids to a disadvantage or to a clash? But then why is Fred in on a business meeting? Why does Fred look the grumpiest out of that group? No. It's something to do with Fred, and Fred isn't happy about it. So either he's getting in trouble for something to do with Velma, or maybe Velma's the new kid at school, and Mr. Dinkley wants him to take, almost like the pupil program. Maybe he wants her to take him around school. I don't really know. I'll be racking my brains about this, but we get a little glimpse into Fred's character, and I do think there's a few interesting tells here, which gives me a good sign and reminds me a bit of Mystery Incorporated. So in Mystery Incorporated, we do get to feel very sorry for Fred, because he gets adopted by bit of an evil man, only to be reintroduced to his parents to find out they're not great either. And here we don't have any indication that Mr. and Mrs. Jones are evil, but we definitely get the sense that Fred isn't the main priority in their life. I mean, look at the two dogs. They're sat arguably at a better position to Fred's parents than Fred is, although I was raised in a household where the head of the table was, the best place. But it doesn't seem like the case here. But we've got Fred's dad sitting next to the dogs instead of Fred. Also, if you look around the room, there's about 3 pictures of the dogs and 1 little picture of Fred. Like, take a look at that. 3 big pictures of the dogs and a little one of Fred to the corner there. I think that's quite telling on the priorities of Fred's parents. And if we get a little glimpse into that, I think it'll be very interesting. Again, we don't need tropes. We don't need it to just be, oh, feel sorry for Fred. We want it to explore him, to explore the nuance of who he is in this universe. And I think that we will get that. I don't think they'll drop the ball on too many things. And I think it's cool because I do think that the actual outfit that Fred's wearing in that photo is a reference to What's New Scooby-Doo. And of course, there's a butler to the left-hand side. What are the chances that the butler did it in this version as well? What are the chances? Comment down below and we'll move on to the next picture. The last photo that we're going to show is seemingly Norville becoming a Twitch streamer, a YouTube streamer, which I'm not at all happy about, because from the way the marketing has presented this show, it seems like it was written by people that are purposely trying to be young, to appeal to Generation TikTok and to seem all, hip and down with the trends, when in actual fact they're kind of very far removed from that. And so I'm just scared that this is put in to appease the people like me, admittedly, that spend a lot of time on YouTube, that spend a lot of time on Twitch, but what we end up getting is far from what my experience and maybe some of you watching this experience is online. And it's just gonna be, hey, let's make a joke about emojis, let's make a joke about hashtags, aren't we cool, like my name Jeff, like completely old memes from years ago that they're gonna have Norville say and expect the audience to bust a gut laughing. I'm worried it's gonna get cringy. That's what I'm really worried about. Although, shout out to the chat box at least. We've got Scrappy79 saying, hey man, how you doing? And technically, this is the only Scrappy reference we've had in years that isn't a dig at Scrappy. So, if nothing else, hey, there's a good reference to Scrappy at the very least. So, that is absolutely amazing. I don't think the other usernames hold any weight in terms of references. I mean, Ruby J, obviously Joe Ruby. I don't know what is that, Snack Attack? I think that's just a random username. But Ruby J, Joe Ruby, which is kind of cool. I don't think I've seen anyone pick up on that. So clearly whoever added that in is showing some respect to the lore of Scooby, which gives me hope. But overall, I have nothing but the worst expectations for this live streamer subplot that they've got going on. But, maybe I'm just too cynical. Maybe I've just seen countless movies, countless shows that try and be young and fail miserably. But yeah, that's all we have for today. I think they've released little screenshots for the first 6 episodes out of 10 in total. Maybe there's 12. I'll have to double check. But regardless, hopefully we're going to be doing these every day, breaking down each of the available screenshots. And please let me know your theories, because like I say, I'm just here to speculate. You might have different ideas about things in the images. You might really like things that I've disliked. You might really dislike something that I've liked. There's no right answer when it comes to this, but it would be great to start a nice conversation in the comment section down below. So if you do want to see more content surrounding Scooby-Doo, such as weekly interviews with the creators of some of your favourite Scooby-Doo movies, and some of the more breakdown versions of things like this, then please like, comment, and subscribe to JayBee Milly.